All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Cycle Jerks Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stewart, joined as always by my co-host, Chris Padavana. How you doing this morning, Chris?
Doing well, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Coming off a good weekend. Today's guest is someone as near and dear to me. He was one of my inside sales partners over the years, and now is an outside sales rep for Specialized in Florida. Jesse Garcia. Jesse, welcome to
What's
the podcast.
what's up? Happy to be here. Nice to see Chris again. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
used
good to
I
see you.
used to call him every week on Tuesday to bug him, try to buy stuff.
It's like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, you like seeing Jesse, but not so much me, or Chris rather, not so much me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, I feel, yeah. Anyway, but hey, dude, it's been a long time coming, and I'm happy to have you on the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't
stoked to
know,
be here.
yeah, man. We always like to kind of get things rolling, just trying to understand how you got involved with bikes and when it started for you, and so let's start with where you grew up and then maybe when you found the bike.
Yeah, for sure. Born and raised in Montana. And yeah, so born and raised in Montana. Mom saved up, bought me a BMX bike back in the day. Um, just jumping. Um, like little curb cuts, just like I think all of us did.
Yeah,
Getting hurt doing that thing, and then I kind of stopped for a little bit. Um, and then my mom was going to like a separation, so I started living with my dad. And one of our neighbors built like a dirt bike jump and just like a tabletop for his BMX bike, and we would just literally go out and just jump that all day long, just one jump over and over.
yeah,
Um, Moved back in with my mom, and then just kept riding BMX. Um, just to get around. And then I was at a new school, and I was lucky enough to have my homeroom class was a kid, and he started asking me about the shoes I was wearing because I was wearing some etnies, asking if I skateboarded or rode BMX, seventh grade, eighth grade stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, he was like, "Oh, I ride BMX too." And then that day, we started riding together, and pretty much we had like a crew of like three or four young kids that thought we were cool, looking up to the older guys and riding BMX, and um, yeah, started progressing with that. Started making videos. We had a pretty cool little blog called, because back in the day everything was on Blogspot.
Uh-huh.
We had a little say something BMX blog spot, and then started making videos, and we were getting like 5 to 10,000 impressions every month on this blog that we were doing. That was just basically copying the Come Up BMX or Vital BMX, and posting their videos, but then making our own videos and having fun,
Yeah.
doing trips, all that. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I like really got into it. And then met my wife, and she didn't want to. She's from Montana as well, but went to school in Seattle, and she didn't want to stay in Montana. She just came back for a little bit, and I was like, "Cool, let's get out of here." And we moved to San Diego to ride BMX. Thought I was going to be a pro BMXer. Learned really quick I wasn't. And then yeah, just started hanging out. I met a bunch of dudes in the San Diego scene. Still my closest friends. I always say, families in Montana, friends are in San Diego. Um, and then 2000, this is like 2012. Started working. Previously, I worked at the Knickerbiker in Great Falls, which is like to me a legendary bike shop. But when I moved to San Diego, couldn't get a job, and luckily got a job at Bicycle Warehouse,
Oh,
which is a pretty big account for Giant Santa Cruz, Specialized now. And at the time, I was very lucky to work there because I needed a job real bad, and it came at perfect timing. Um, but then also they do a lot of sales training and care about developing their employees, and started doing the Dan Man gear training and just constantly training. Dan Man, he's the best in my opinion for bicycle retail training. If retailers
Absolutely.
are listening to this and they're looking for a spot,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, started doing the Dan Man gear training, weekly meetings. I guess how far do you want me to go? You just want me to keep going, or I should
No,
keep talking?
no. Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
Shannon.
you're just rambling. I'm just letting you
Yeah, yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I
So,
mean, yeah, that's kind of where I ended up and really got into it, and that's kind of where like the bike side met the professional side, I guess, the personal side kind of leaned into the professional side.
What store in for Bicycle Warehouse were you working at?
So originally Kearney Mesa with Rob Riggle, not the Rob Riggle, but a different Rob Riggle. And then he's been there forever. Always probably the only person that can come in and smile every single day and just be stoked. Really great person to work with. But I started working with him in Kearney Mesa. Then I
Nice.
also worked in Escondido, moved to Escondido, sort of San Marcos, worked at PB, worked at Carmel Mountain. I kind of bounced around a lot towards the second half of my tenure there.
What was that time frame like the years you were working for Bike Warehouse?
2012 I started in April of 2012. Yeah, 2012, April 2012 I started. Um, and then I was basically almost a year in, and they let me become a store manager. I didn't have a
Oh,
car at the time, so pretty much right at 1 year. Debbie, one of the owners, Debbie and Mike, um, asked if I'd be interested in getting a vehicle, so I did, and started managing the Escondido store. And from there, team leader. And then from there, I was team leader until 2018 August when I went to Newbury Park.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Debbie and Mike are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike and
Yeah.
Debbie. I'm very, very fortunate to have a relationship with them. I think one of the things that I was really lucky is when I became a manager. Um, they basically said, Debbie offered to have me come in at 7 a.m. every Tuesday, and we'd literally sit there for an hour and a half doing training on how to be a leader. Because
Wow.
selling's one thing, but leading your team is another thing.
Right.
And I think that was probably the most valuable thing in my career development, to be honest. So
Wow.
Nice.
And was that just one-on-one with you and Debbie, or was
yeah. So I'd come in, she'd come in, and we'd kind of focus on what I had struggles with. Especially being at the time I was 23 and probably the youngest person in the company. So I was, the team leader of people that are, one of them was
right?
double my age, one was like 5 years older than me. And so just that was huge. So like little things I struggled with, I'd write down, bring in, and we'd work on it.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So how
Oh,
to,
that's
really go over like daily plans and, drive towards the day's goals, not just number wise, but making sure everything gets done, stores clean, presentable, all that.
Sounds like
yeah.
they were pretty instrumental in your growth.
Oh, huge, huge. So
Yeah.
Chris and I have some experience with Dan Mann also. Chris,
Yeah.
we did a collab with it. We had the um, bicycle trip and Eden, and Chris coordinated this whole thing, I think. But the two of
Yeah.
you, the two shops met at Eden Bike Shop, and then Dan Mann came in and the man group came in and did the training. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, to your point. I mean, it's great training for sure.
Yeah.
But
We're
man,
gonna get
that's
them on the podcast, dude.
oh
yeah, get
nice.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's really cool that Debbie took the time, and you were motivated enough to get in there. You saw value in it. I know when I was, I got promoted to it's just a small shop, not like the bicycle warehouse, but same kind of thing. I was just this young kid, and I had to manage these older people, and that's a tricky scenario a lot of times. People are, you know, as you get older, you're more mature, and you've dealt with a lot more situations, and here's this young person trying to tell you how to do things, or that hey, I'd like to see you do it this way, and yeah, it's kind of a tricky dynamic, but that's really cool that Debbie invested in you, and obviously it's in her best interest to have you performing at a high level, but still to take the time to an hour and a half a week. I mean, every Tuesday. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
There was a point in my career, like during the 2008-9 recession, we were debating whether just to jump ship and ditch the shop. And Danny Fitzgerald was
Hmm.
like, yeah, he's all, I got you, man. He's all, we can get you a job at Bike Warehouse and Debbie and Mike. And yeah,
Oh,
so
no kidding.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, Bike Warehouse, powerhouse back then, and powerhouse today. And yeah, it's great organization. I was thankful that you had moved on though, because you became my inside sales partner for a short bit
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah,
that was something else. I
yeah,
never really had an inside partner like Jesse before, so it was
yeah. But real quick, if we could rewind though, I didn't.
yeah.
So when I started working at Giant, obviously a dream come true. My goals kind of changed in life, and I was like, I want to be a rep. I want to be a rep. Actually, my coworker now, Vince Poff, up in the Northwest, he used to come in and make it look so easy. So I was like, oh, being a rep would be so easy. Just go hang out at bike shops, bring beers, go on bike rides, look cool, drive cool cars. That's what I thought the job was.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
I'll give a little shout out to him because when I was working at Bicycle Warehouse, I was like, oh, that would be cool to do that and kind of go on. But I will say this: my wife is actually the one that got hired at Giant before I did.
Mhm.
I came along and was working at Newbury Park Bike Shop. Very fortunate they hooked me up with a job for like a month and a half before I started working at Giant. But my wife was got a job offer in the retail services department doing store visual space specialist for the retail team.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give her a shout out too because like she's obviously huge in this too. And I wouldn't be working at Giant probably if she didn't get the job first. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's
They
super
don't.
talented artist, and she's done a lot of really cool projects. I know the Bahati when they did the race across America, she did the paint on the bikes, and just one of many things she's done, but very creative, and
yeah,
yeah, so that's cool.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
All right. So
Sorry about
hey,
that. Sorry about
yeah, that's
that.
all right. No,
No,
but
Throw a
that's
wrench in it.
cool.
so
It-
let's get back to like where it first started, because I still don't know how old were you. Like you said, your mom saved up and got you a bike. How old were you at this point?
Well, my first BMX bike was I would say fifth grade, so
Okay,
maybe 9 or 10 years old. Got a
right.
little GT Dyno VFR.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think I got it because it was chrome. My mom just went and bought me a bike.
sick.
Yeah, and then it was obviously rad.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, those chrome bikes
hey,
were sick.
Yeah.
my first bike was a Montgomery Ward BMX.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh man, yeah,
Chain
yeah.
guard rub.
Seriously, yeah.
That's
That
the sound
shit.
of performance right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that shade guard made it all of about maybe 15 minutes. Yeah, but yeah, you got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah. So whereabouts in Montana did you grow up?
Um, I always jokingly just say everywhere. I bounce around a lot and still do. But I was born in Billings, and that's where like my dad's side of the family is, and my mom's side as well. But
Hmm.
then I grew up in Hamilton, so like my whole elementary days, all the way leading up into middle school, I was in Hamilton, Montana, which is 50-ish miles south of Missoula. Um, and then where I claim I'm from is Great Falls, so that's where I spent high school to me meeting my wife and moving.
Okay.
And that was in Great Falls, Montana, which is dead center. So I've kind of like scattered all the way around except for the north, like not Kalispell, Whitefish area, but kind of lived everywhere for a couple of years, at least the big cities.
Got it.
Yeah,
And so I mean, it's not exactly known as a BMX hotbed, right? Montana. What
yeah,
you were still able to find a scene where there jumps and
yeah,
any type of skate park stuff, or
yeah. I think Montana actually has an underrated scene for everything. Up until the TV show
Yellowstone?
Until Yellowstone came out.
It's kind of a
Um,
big deal.
yeah, little small little show.
Yeah.
The But yeah, I think a lot of people didn't realize it, and I think the good and the bad of it is now a lot of people are moving there, which is fine. Um, I think, but yeah, there's a huge, crazy good BMX scene. There's a lot of bike companies out of uh, BMX companies out of Montana, which is pretty cool. So like growing up, like Chad Eslick owned Vandal bikes, and that was super cool. We always wanted one of those American-made BMX bikes. And even now, like Ben at White House, WHTHOUS. He does a lot of handmade BMX frames, and they really kind of are pushing the scene even to this day. So there's like a crew that still get together and shoot photos and make little zines and stuff. Very grassroots, but like the mountain biking is really good. Road riding is good. Um, I think Montana is this weird place where you have a lot of people that are really good at things, and they just don't really, have social media or whatever. Don't really care to share. They're just, artists in a sense. Um, and I think that you get really great at things in Montana. Or the flip side is, you kind of get addicted to things. It's one of the downsides to Montana is like addiction, small town stuff. But
Those
yeah,
winters, man, the winters have got to be really tough on people, you know?
yeah. We were always good enough, or not. We were always lucky enough to have like there was a indoor skate park in Missoula, and it was a
Oh,
church
sick.
that was really cool, and they had like just straight up box jumps, which in theory are cool if you're designing a skate park for somebody, but not really what you want to ride all the time. It's just a big jump. But
Yeah.
so we spent a lot of time at like this. We drive 2 hours in the winter to go ride a little wooden skate park that was really fun. But yeah,
Yeah. That's
so
a lot different when you get out to San Diego and you got
yeah,
Yeah.
little
just stuff
different.
popping off everywhere.
Yeah, better skate parks in Montana though, I'd say,
Oh, no
than
kidding.
San
Really?
Diego. Yeah. As
Oh
far as
wow.
like they just flow better. Like as far as like a skate park, like now everything's kind of turning to street plazas. But as far as like having bowls and like selection, like I think that Montana has some of the best skate parks in the world. The whole
Wow.
Wow.
Northwest does, right? Oregon, uh,
Hmm.
Washington, Idaho, Montana. So
Yeah.
Yeah. You just think San Diego would be the place or a scene for that, but yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I mean San Diego obviously has the best riders in the world. Um, you know, lucky to call a lot of them friends, but like best street riding. They have great skate parks, but nothing that's like huge where you can just sit there all day long and go ride a street plaza and then go ride a bowl or go ride, it's just so much more variety at a skate park in Montana because they're like, I'm guessing land's cheaper to buy, so the skate parks are bigger.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I think our skate
Yeah.
Maybe
park costs 2 million and it's huge. So
insurance is probably less of an issue,
yeah,
potentially in
thousand
California.
percent. Yeah, thousand
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah.
Like what kind of style of BMX, were you interested in?
Um,
What got you inspired?
it was funny. My first BMX bikes were always race BMX bikes. Like I had like when I really got into it, it was my mom bought me a $350 Specialized Hemi, like hydroformed.
Hell yeah.
Not the fat boy, but the one that looks more like a bike.
Uh-huh.
And so that was like my first BMX bike, and I put pegs on it and just absolutely destroyed it. But yeah, I enjoyed riding street. Like that's kind of what I really fell in love with, I guess.
All right,
When I was like
cool.
19, it was like grinding handrails, just pedaling around. Still, my favorite thing to do is to like be an outside rep. One thing that's cool is just pulling up to a city and not even doing any tricks, just pedaling around on a BMX bike. To me, it's still one of the funnest things to do when you're by yourself. Just put some music on and go look at things and be weird and have fun.
Sick. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, okay. So, now you're in Florida. So
yeah.
San Diego to Florida, what is the adjustment like? Because you hear the stories about Florida. I mean, Florida, I used to listen to Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's this segment, Sick Fucks of the Week is what the
Mhm.
segment was called. And Florida had their own chapter. Like he would do like these weird stories about different parts of the country, and then he would go, okay, and now Florida. And then he
Yeah.
would go into Florida with all these crazy things that were happening to people. People, women, found that got set on fire, thrown in a dumpster, and I mean, just crazy stories. So,
Yeah.
what is Florida like? It seems like it's another country.
It's the same as everything. I mean, South
Old
Florida is
man.
another country, but
South
um,
Florida? Okay, is
yeah,
that where
yeah,
the
yeah,
distinction is?
yeah. It's Florida's two states. There's North Florida and South Florida.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, that's just kind of like a dumb little thing. When I lived in South Florida for a couple of years, and I used
Yeah.
to say there's South Florida, Georgia, and Georgia is what I used to say. So I just now that I live in North Florida, I make fun of South Florida. Um,
Uh,
but I mean, Florida's super cool. I think that the misconception about Florida is obviously you have all the political fun stuff, but then you have the Florida Man stuff.
Yeah.
There's a show on HBO that just came out called The Florida Man, and they
Uh-huh.
have people telling stories and then like actors that are you're familiar with reenacting it.
Okay.
But it talks about on one of the last episodes the reason why Florida gets the Florida Man rap is because if you get arrested, it's public record. So if you're looking for a headline, right, crazy stuff happens in every city or every state, but
Uh,
because it's public record, even before you're charged with it, you could just take a headline and run with it. And so like people were just trying to get clicks, and that's kind of one of the things. And
okay.
then yeah, so but yeah, Florida is awesome. It's totally different. I think that the nice thing about Florida is people just want to do their own thing and just don't bother them, and that's
Yeah.
cool. Like that's what I noticed coming from SoCal, and I lived in Oxnard as well, um, in Ventura County. But the thing I noticed when I moved to Florida, everyone's just more open. Like it sounds weird because you like, from the outside, you're like, they think this and they're this, but everyone I see is very nice, and they're like, hey, just don't tell me what to do and do what you want and have fun. Um, and that's what I get because I live in like Central Florida. I'm not near a big city. I live in Ocala, so we have really great mountain biking and dirt jumps and good road riding. But it's a small 50, 60,000 person town and nothing crazy. But everyone's just doing their own thing and trying to just live their lives. And I think that's one of the nice things about Florida is people don't really get in your business. If that makes sense. Like there's less drama here, if that makes sense, which
Uh-huh.
is nice. So
Yeah.
coming
Well, I
coming
mean,
from someone who creates drama, so just kidding.
right. Yeah. Yeah. You thrive on that. No.
Yeah.
How close are you to Miami Beach?
Miami Beach is like 4.5 hours,
Oh,
but
okay.
Damn.
but I used to live a mile and a half from Miami Beach, and I would ride down. So I lived in near the Dolphin Stadium near Aventura.
Yeah.
So like 40 minutes, I was at Miami Beach, South Beach, in like an hour, depending on how I felt that day. Pedal. So it was pretty close. I went to the beach in Miami twice, and I lived there for 2 years. So it's just
Okay.
I'm yeah, I live next to the beach in Oxnard, which has a really like Port Hueneme. I went to the beach once. Like it's like I don't like I've lived next to the beach most of my adult life and don't go to the beach.
Oh,
So yeah,
what a waste.
I mean I guess
I love the beach.
yeah
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we're not that far from Santa Cruz, and yeah, I'm kind of like you. I only go a couple times a year, so
yeah
I guess I don't know. Probably don't love it as much as I think I do.
yeah.
Well,
But where I'm located is like it's pretty cool. I'm like dead center. If you look at the like most maps where it says Florida, like where the O is kind of where I live. It's like
yeah.
literally dead center, and then but I'm an hour northwest of Orlando, an hour and 20 northwest of Tampa. So I'm like by the big cities, but not
Is that
in the
like
big
by
Yeah.
cities.
Clearwater?
That Clearwater is next to Tampa, so that'd be more like
Okay.
Tampa. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Got
Yeah,
it.
what's it like repping there? Because all the tolls and all that shit. I remember I went to Orlando once with my family, and then go to Disney World, when the kids are young, and then we had to cannonball it down to Tampa to visit some of her relatives. I think it was Tampa.
mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, the tolls were insane. It's
Yeah,
like,
the tolls are pretty cool because I don't pay for them. but, but
how's that
yeah,
work?
I'd say I spend like $15 to $20 in tolls um like a travel day. And that's like 4 or 5 hours of driving. But yeah, luckily my work pays for the tolls.
Yeah,
Um and normally on the weekends, like I don't have a toll like if I'm driving or whatever and it's like weekends or I'm not working, I never hit a toll. But where you're at in Orlando, there's a ton of tolls because of
right.
Disney and Legoland and all that fun
Yeah, I just
stuff.
remember
Universal.
we had to get change back in the day, and we'd like
Yeah.
throw. They had like this little bucket, and you drive by and you throw the change in the bucket, and just it's like this is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they have like a little there's like a little transponder that's like I don't know, maybe 1 inch by 1 inch and like
Yeah,
by four, and it just goes in the window and it
yeah,
literally just pays it automatically.
right.
And I
Yeah,
think
we
I
have the
go
same
through
thing out here. Fast
yeah,
track.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have went through once without it and they're like, we need exact change. And I'm like, and then they charged me like $20 extra because I never paid on time because I didn't know
Uh-huh.
where to, I didn't know where to pay to where to send a check. Like it was a very vague.
I might still
Uh,
be wanted in Florida because I did
yeah,
run a couple tolls.
Yeah, for the listeners, it's all public record. You can find them. You find
Florida
Mikey.
man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. So how long were you, so back up to your career in the industry, right? So Knicker Biker, and then Bicycle Warehouse, Newbury Park, and then Giant. How long were you at Giant?
I was at Giant from I think technically the first week of September 2018.
Hmm.
And I left in the I left August of 2021.
Yeah.
Um, and then I moved to Miami to work in South Florida for Giant. And then I left Giant May of 2022.
Right.
So,
And then
and
you did the unthinkable, and you
yes.
went to work for the major competitor,
Yeah. Yeah.
Specialized. So, what was that? I mean, what was that like? Just you've been, because there's like this whole thing. Maybe on the outside, people don't know, but internally, Giant and Specialized are kind of like, I always say the Bloods and the Crips, right? We're blue, they're red, and then there's like all this like silliness of I don't know, you know, at
Yeah, I
least from
think
the Giant side, it's like we're always so concerned about what Specialized is doing. What it's just kind of it's kind of interesting, the dynamic. But anyway, so you leave Giant and then you go to work for Specialized, and what was that like?
yeah, so I mean it was super awesome. I mean, I think that like one thing that a lot of people don't understand is like the bike industry is like everybody knows everybody. Like think
Yep.
about the local bike shops, right, Chris? Like when you were working at Eden, you knew all the mechanics at the other shops, and if you didn't, that's probably a problem. You should probably spend more time in the community. But it like like you should know everybody, right? And I think that's
Yep.
the thing with companies as well. Um, I I yeah. So the reason why I'm at Specialized, I feel like companies are kind of like college football programs. A coach goes somewhere, right? And
Hmm.
you might just not vibe with the new coach and you kind of move on. And that's kind of how I um, felt at Giant. And so Matt Kephart works for Specialized now. Someone that I work really well with, understands kind of my personality and my unique, annoying style. And the opportunity was there. And yeah, I wanted to try something new. Normally, like once 3 years hits, I kind of get bored and I try to find something new to do.
Yeah.
Like when I worked at Giant, I had a great time. I worked in warranty first, part time, and then I worked in inside sales with Mike Stewart. He sent a really nice email that he didn't want me as his inside rep, and then true story. And then
No, what? I don't even
yeah,
remember that. It's
do you want to elaborate?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah,
Shit. What
yeah.
I
No, no,
say?
I'm
I
just
don't even
kidding.
remember.
You're like, congratulations. I'm excited for you, but I prefer my inside rep that I've had for 10 years.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It
love
wasn't, I didn't,
KK. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't bad. I think it was Eric Christensen, who was awesome, by the way. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, no, just giving you a hard time, Mike.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I worked in the inside sales and then inside sales lead. Um, and then like right before COVID started, um, the inside sales manager left, so I took that position over. And then heat of COVID, July 2020, I was inside account executive. So I was doing inside and outside for territories because they didn't have reps. So I was covering Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Oklahoma, Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, and South Florida. So I was covering like 180 accounts just from the phone,
Wow.
which can't really go in anyways, but just getting yelled at in every time zone throughout the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that must
yeah,
have been an intense time for that position.
yeah, it was
Oh,
fun. I
man.
mean, obviously we get paid commission, so we made a lot of money, but I don't think
Hmm.
it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was brutal. But I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like we're all here for the riders, and the riders are coming in wanting the bike, right? And
Yep.
uh, and the shops, and you're that person that's trying to get that bike for the shop to get to the rider. And I think that's it's a little bit more stressful, especially when miscommunications happen more often than not because the shop's excited because you might be able to get something, not that you did get something. And then they communicate to the rider, and it's just a little bit crazy. But that was all of us, right? Like I had it
Yes.
easy, right? Like I was sitting in an office, got an hour break from the madness every day. Like I mean, I was yeah, I got yelled at quite a bit, but at least 5 times a day. But people are just stressed out, and like Chris, you were on the front lines, like
Yeah.
especially in a lot of the cities where you had to meet people outside for everything and bring the bike out to them and just totally change how you work. And I think uh I think I had it pretty easy, but it's stress is stress, right? You can only take so
Yeah.
much.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I mean, just that just put me through the ringer, man, for 2 years.
yeah,
So yeah, I can imagine, for you, like for both of you trying to satisfy your retailers, who are just like clawing at you for bikes and, you
Yeah.
know,
yeah. My
Yeah.
my favorite my favorite question, and I think anybody listening to this that's worked in the industry has either heard this or said this, and it's if you have any of these lying around, feel free to. It's like yeah, it's right under my desk. Like,
Uh-huh. Right.
probably
It's
my favorite question. Yeah,
it's like the customer who with the broken bike that says, "Oh, it's just riding along." And
yeah,
and then this
exactly.
happened, it's like, yeah, no, neither of those things really manifest themselves that way. But yeah, I mean, certainly being on the front lines way harder than what you and I were dealing with. Just the uncertainty of what was going on and all the things that we were being told, right or wrong. There was a lot of fear out there, and yeah, just trying to manage that every day, manage your employees, and take care of customers' needs in like the most frantic bicycle time in history,
Yeah,
because everything
all
else was
right.
shut down. And yeah, I just can't. Yeah, our job was tough, but it wasn't like being on the front lines.
yeah,
Well, it's
and I
and
think
you guys were always good because it's hard to not be, angry. It's like a lot of times you're not angry like at you guys as an example, but there's
Sure.
just all this tension and it's like it's got to go somewhere, and
Yeah.
sadly, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think one thing though that I will say that was like pretty one of there's a lot of positives I think that actually came out from it, but not that I was very stoked on it. But if we're looking at the positives, the whole team that like we had on the inside team at Giant was awesome at the time. Like everybody was just hunkered down, making it happen. Like we were the only ones in the office. It was like 7 of us going to lunch, and like you kind of create that like network of people that you get really close to because you're the only people you interact with are your family and the people you work next to.
Yeah.
And in the office, we only have like 20 people in the office every, you know, I think there's like 100 people that are normally in the office. So, we got pretty close. And I think that was one thing that was like big, for, just that like ecosystem of people that you rely on and
Yeah.
calling Mike and complaining or being in a group chat complaining to him about something helped a lot. So,
Yeah. We were each other's therapists, certainly for a
yeah.
lot of that,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
because I had my share of complaining too.
Mhm.
So yeah, shit runs uphill, downhill, sideways, all kinds of ways during that
Right.
kind of time frame. Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, and the bike industry still in recovery mode, largely, with what's happening with the pricing. And I mean, geez, if you want a bicycle right now is the time. If you ever thought like one day I'm going to buy a really badass bike, the time is right now because
Right.
the pricing is it's so ridiculous. You can't even, yeah, it's just, you can't even equate it to any time in history or any sense of normality. Companies are selling bikes below their landed cost. And yeah, as a consumer right now, you can just get a smoking deal on a bike. It's going to be interesting to see how the industry recovers to full price, full price bikes again. Because that's going to be a major adjustment for anybody that bought a bike, let's say in 2023, and then let's say fast forward it to 2026, maybe they're in the market for a new bike. Well, that's going to be a rude awakening, I think. You know.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits is like bikes do have a life cycle, and this is just like assuming, right?
Hmm.
But most I feel like 4 to 5 years is kind of when people start replacing their bikes. And I feel a lot of people bought their bikes in 2020, right? Or
Hmm.
2021, or they ordered them in 2020. They got them in 2022. Um,
Yeah.
so, I think that like there's going to be a lot of people coming back to the market to buy, right? And they're already used to paying the full price. So hopefully that will kind of balance it out. But I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people buying their dream bikes right now.
Hmm.
Like I'm running into people that they got into biking riding in 2020, and I do a lot of 2 to 3 events a month where I'm interacting with, riders, doing demos and that type of stuff, and going to races, and people are getting their, dream 8, 9, $15,000 bikes, and I think that that's super cool, and that's really one of the benefits of right now too, right? There's, the $3,000 bikes are impossible. There's so many $3,000 bikes that start out at six, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
like those, when the person that's coming in for their next bike or their dream bike and they've been saving up, I think that there's a big market for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like, I mean, I'm not in the industry like you guys are, but I just can imagine that, retraining the customer base that things aren't on sale, like you're
Right.
not going to, when things level out and inventory levels are, in check or where they should be, how
Yeah.
long is it going to take the consumer to be like, ready to buy at full price?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully overnight.
Yeah.
Right.
That switch is just going to get flipped and it's just going to
Yeah.
be like the good old days. Well,
Yep.
Chris has some experience with this because there was a period of time where we at Giant, we blew the forecast on TCRs and OCRs, the old OCR, predecessor to the Defy. And we we were just sitting on mountains of these Ultegra and 105 equipped and Durace even. And Chris was a retailer that bought a bunch of these things. And he at the time, you had people coming from all over California,
Right.
Nevada, buying these bikes because he's buying 50 at a clip and then selling them off at really low prices. But that was that was a good time for you and it worked out. But also it really made it hard to sell for Giant to sell an Ultegra bike at full retail in the marketplace for quite a while. I want to say it was like maybe 3 or 4 years before we were able to, you know,
Well, in typical Giant fashion, it's like a yellow TCR. It's like who who wants
hey,
to buy a yellow
Hey,
TCR, man?
hey,
that was like the
there's this guy
best
Lance
one.
Armstrong. You heard of him, right?
Yeah. Was that the Onse? Was that the Onse one? The yellow,
It
the
wasn't
Onse
No,
even
one?
that, dude.
no.
It was horrible, man. It's like,
Uh,
and we were
come
selling
on now.
Orbea. It was come on now. Let's just be honest here. All right. And we were basically buying them and stripping them down and just putting all the parts on like we were relatively new with Orbea and we were just slinging those bikes with parts from Giants.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I think that a lot of people missed during like the whole COVID thing was like the Tensio, with like how good the Giant colors
Yeah.
got.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
And the frame
pretty.
design, the sculpting of the tube sets got a lot more intricate and yeah, the
Right.
Yeah,
stuff got yeah, it was
the
kind of
colors got better.
definitely, definitely.
So
Yeah, so yeah, that was a tricky time for sure.
yeah,
But it takes a while to recover though. That was the point. It's like the market, and
Yeah.
that was just one model. Whereas here you got it industry wide. I mean, e-bikes are, less than half of what they should be. High-end road. High-end road, the new stuff the thing that's encouraging is when their new product hits, I'm sure you're probably seeing this too at Specialized, when there's a lot of old product, but then when the new stuff hits, seems like it goes in and goes out and full price seems like there's still a good market for that.
yeah.
um
I think for like a lot of the companies that invested in like innovation, you're seeing a lot of those bikes on the road. Like at least I am. I'm going out and I'm seeing
yeah,
the brand new high end bikes with the special orders coming in for the new models that are full price,
yeah.
and it's a solid clip. And I think that that's a huge part is um, riders also I think do want new. Like I want new.
Hmm.
Like I don't want
Yeah.
the new red came out and I think I made it 90 days before I ordered it, and that's just because
You
I
did
had
better
some
than me.
Yeah.
I had that
Yeah.
stuff
Well,
sitting in my office waiting for the
yeah.
frame.
Well, my problem was I had a I didn't have an S-Works frame to throw it on, or
Hmm.
professionally assemble it, not throw. But
Yeah.
I didn't have an S-Works frame. I had the 10R specialized frame with force, and it was great. And I was like, do I put red on this? And that was the only thing stopping me. Once I got the S-Works, I was like, I'm gonna put force on it. No, it didn't happen. It was that lasted like 3 days. I was like, yeah, SRAM red on order real quick. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like the new stuff. I think a lot of people do.
Hmm.
And I feel like when you go to a race, it's funny you see all these riders on, or even just an event, they're all on the new stuff, and it's like, where'd you buy that?
Yeah.
So because
Because
like
there's not
yeah,
much of it.
yeah,
That's the sad reality is that, there's not a ton of new stuff, at least even from a product development cycle, that got stymied during COVID. So the number of new models that are being released, that's largely impacted because of the warehouses being full of the older stuff too. So yeah,
yeah,
it's a weird time. Certainly, if you've been in the bike industry for 20 plus years or whatever, you never seen anything quite like what these last 5 years have been like. It's just been
yeah.
complete chaos.
One thing that is consistent is we can never get the right amount of kids bikes going into Christmas, no matter what they're. It doesn't matter. You're never gonna have them.
I know that one always baffles me too, because like if you look at, you know, the overall cost, I mean, these things are not super expensive. So,
Yeah.
and they do have a shelf life beyond Christmas. So why not? I just don't understand why the warehouse is just not loaded to the gills with these things going into November. And then, hey, we got some excess inventory coming out of December, but so what? We sold every freaking one we could, you
Yeah,
know?
I don't know. I think there's people way smarter than me making those decisions.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
Maybe.
yeah. No,
yeah.
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe. And it's
I'm
like
confident.
yeah, like no kids bikes and just like a plethora of like high
Uh-huh.
end bikes that are just gonna go into the next year.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine? Yeah.
if I was picking bikes, it'd be like, oh, we have way too many S-Works tarmacs. We have way too many.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But look at them all.
Yeah,
yeah.
right?
It's
Yeah.
weird. They're all flat black.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like your own little personal happy space.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was, a lot of my time in retail, I was the buyer, right? So store manager slash buyer. And that's a thankless job because when ownership is, these things happen from time to time where you're out of a tube or you have too many of this thing that's not selling anymore. And you're just, you just have to eat shit when the owner comes around. It's like, what were you thinking? Why do we have all these stupid things? It's like, okay, yeah, got it. I can't even imagine, right? The the pressure of forecasting bicycles 120 days out for an entire country. I mean,
Mhm.
what are the odds? I mean, the odds are not in your favor. You're never going to get it right. There's no
And
way.
yeah, take it a step further and think about like, you know, during COVID, you're ordering 5 years ahead, 3 years ahead, depending on the model.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
I first started working with Mike, you could almost special order a model, right? Like from the factory, and, hey, we need
Hmm.
3 of these for a team, and they're like, okay, cool, give us 90 days.
Hmm.
And then it was like, let me confirm it. Oh, cool, it's 90 days. And now it's like, a lot harder. And I think that's with, all the factories as well, right? It's not as easy to just,
Yeah.
turn the machine on, knock out a bike. Um, and I think a lot of it, there's again, I have zero idea. So this is just assuming. So do not,
Yeah.
do not bet on this. But I think a lot of it is, isn't it like the assembly line process, right? You have to make enough to make it worth it. Because if you just make 10, it's a waste of money because of how much time slowing down the rest of the bikes, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I did something unique this year where the Jayco, I knew we were going to bring in some of these Jayco Alula paint scheme TCRs, and I really wanted one. I ride an extra small, and we don't buy very many extra smalls as a rule. And so when I got wind of it, I put in a request through a couple different channels to add an extra small to the overall forecast specifically for me, and I'll pay paying for it in advance, and that worked. So that was kind of cool. And
Yeah.
so I think that I found like a pathway going forward because sometimes it's frustrating. As a rep, you want to rep the stuff that you're like most excited about. You want to be on that stuff. And so a lot of times though, you can't even get it because maybe there's only one or two, and you got to prioritize those darn customers over you.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
anyway,
The
yeah,
people that pay our paychecks.
that's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe in the future I got a pathway to get it done. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
it's nice when you like you said, like you're talking about the new SRAM. It's so cool when there's like a convergence of new drivetrain technology and a new frame set that you're really excited about, and then you get to slap it
Yeah.
all
That's
together.
nothing better.
No, right? Very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. And I've been like
Uh,
really, really just excited about all the new stuff that's been coming.
yeah,
So like I don't know, it's pretty cool, like how much like SRAM and, uh, Shimano and just kind of all the stuff that you're kind of seeing like sneaks at, gravel races. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's pretty exciting for me. I always like to nerd out on that stuff, even if it's not the product for me. Like
yeah,
when you saw like the Maven sneak peeks, you're like, oh, look at that.
yeah. That stuff's
Um,
sick.
yeah, so I always click on it, learn about it, and then I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? I live in
Yeah.
Florida. There's no, so
Well, pre-COVID, we had this, it was pretty structured. We'd always have the sales meeting in July. And I used to call it Christmas in July because you go to the sales meeting, you didn't really I mean, you had some ideas, but then like back in the day, the whole lineup would be unveiled to you, and it was just like the stoke level was just like through the roof. But the way things are being done now, things get launched. There's like, oh, we got a couple new things happening here now. There's going to be another couple of things happening in the future. I kind of miss the big launch of new product. And generally it is cool. It's like there's pros and cons to it. I think when there's just a few products at a time, then you can really spend the time and focus on those products with the retailers and then position them properly and hopefully get them placed. Whereas so that's the upside to it. And I know the downside to the full line, and Chris probably can speak to this, being a retailer, is it's kind of overwhelming. And then you got to try to bang it all out in a short window. Maybe two visits from your rep, and you got to try
Right.
to figure out what you're going to do for the entire year on all these different models. Yeah, it's
yeah,
Which
I
is
think
weird because they would always introduce, new lines in the summertime. It's like that's when the retailer is the most busy. You're the busiest you're going to be, and then
yep,
you've got to like separate time to like preview new model and forecast what you're going to get. And
right.
uh,
yeah,
Well, Giant did try model year introductions. So that was early on when I was at Giant, but in my earlier years. But yeah, we tried to switch it up and have January launch. So, but the problem was the industry's on this July, August basically is when the new stuff, July, August was when the new stuff would hit.
right,
So if you're a Giant dealer, you have Specialized and Trek and Canada, whoever else is
right,
launching new stuff in July, August.
right.
And then we're like, well, we still got this, we still got the current stuff. And then the new stuff for us is going to come in January. And this is better for you as a dealer. But yeah, the industry
yeah,
never accepted it. So,
yeah. I feel like the launch, like the launch is like with all companies, like Mountain's always going to be around Sea Otter, and
hmm
then Road is always going to be July because of Tour de France,
hmm
Right.
or Endurance Bike's going to be Roubaix, like around target around Roubaix. So I think it's the targeted events, and then plus
hmm
you
Right.
also have to factor in most people are in winter. We live in year-round good weather. So I think like when I lived in Montana, it was awesome in July. You do your pre-book order if and then the product would start coming in the winter, so you're ready to go because you have a 4 or 5 month selling window. So all the bikes are built, and you just have everything built in storage. Like we had every bike built, like two-thirds of the bikes of the 200 bike order built, ready to go, just to
hmm
crank them out. And I think that that's one of the things that it's easy to when we're on the West Coast or, I'm in Florida, but like you don't factor that part of in for the majority, right? Most of the
Yeah.
country is so seasonal and we're so spoiled.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
I always thought how challenging that must be for retailers in that snow belt where they've just got to like they've got this time frame and they've got to dump everything before winter hits, and then what do you
Yeah.
do in the winter? Besides
yeah,
Right.
build new
I,
bikes.
I see it a little bit in the Tahoe area, like the dealers, and a lot of my dealers will flip to skis.
Mhm.
So their goal is they want to be almost out of inventory, which is kind of like hard to even fathom as a regular bicycle dealer. Wait, you're going to
Right.
be what? But they basically try to run their inventory way down and then flip to skis and minimize the storage, because by the time they flip back to bikes, the bikes that are in storage are going to be compromised. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it's
I mean,
tricky.
yeah, it's so crazy. Like I'm in Florida and August, July that's our slow months. So it's you
Right.
think it's convenient, but you know, even if
Yeah.
you have the time, who wants to sit down and write a bazillion-dollar order? Because that's how much I do in business every time, bazillion. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but who wants to sit down and plan out the year when they're just finally being able to
Catching
like
up.
recover and do
Right.
inventory and see what they're heavy in, and because yeah, and I have my retailers aren't having the best sales, but they're just as busy. I think that's the thing. A lot of the bicycle retail side, and even on our side, is like just the communication, right? Like reading emails.
Hmm.
Like it's funny. Like I put a real precedent on just reading my emails. When I was working at Giant, and it was like crazy how much information comes. But then you always a month later you ask for the information because you didn't read. I don't know, but I think it goes both ways on both the retailer side and the distribution side.
Hmm.
Because the information's always there. It's just we don't look for it. And how much spam email we have because we signed up to win a $10 gift card, right?
Yeah.
Um, so still trying to
Well,
win those.
in my early days, I was putting out a weekly update. So it was called the weekly update. And then, and so I would put it's, and I would never get any time. Sometimes I call dealers and be like, "Oh, did you see the email?" Yeah, oh, no, 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 I haven't read that. You know how much email I get? I'm just like, okay, well, I only spent like 4 hours on it, so yeah, no worries. And then, so then I changed it to like not so weekly update, and then so that's a lot less committed. And yeah, now they're just super random because
Yeah,
I have so few. I would put things at the bottom and be like, hey, if you read this email, shoot me a quick reply and I'll get you something really special on my next visit. Nobody, not a
yeah,
single reply, So it's
Me
like,
too.
what am
Exactly.
I doing?
yeah,
But
yeah. We all,
in a way though, it does help you because at least you sent the information, right?
yeah,
So, like, if somebody said, because sometimes things fall through the cracks, and it's like, hey, what the heck, and some dealer's mad at you, be like, hey, man, I've been talking about this for the last month. I sent you the email. What's the problem?
yeah.
At least it's
Uh,
like,
and Chris, you'd send him like an email and it says, "Hey, go into the B2B and click this button, and I'll send you $50 cash." And he'd be like, "You want me to log in?"
All right.
I don't have time for that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to log in to get that $50? Why can't I just
Uh-huh.
have it?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
um,
Send it over.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's fun. I think I don't know. I think we're all kind of the same. I think that's a huge misconception is that like like on the distribution side, it's like at the end of the day, we're all just selling bikes, and
Yeah.
it is serious because it is livelihoods, and it is but at the end of the day, it's like we get paid to sell bikes.
So fun.
It's like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
talking to one of our old colleagues, Mike, and it was like we were just both talking about like we get paid to do this. Pretty sick, so
Pretty
Right.
um
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's like we all got into it, for the passion. If we can make money, that's good. A livable wage, not like
Yeah.
we're
Well, I think a
stacking gold
lot of
bricks.
us, I mean, this is probably true for all three of us, but I think a lot of people that are in the bike industry, I grew up with this idea that I wanted to be a professional bike rider, right? And so I wanted to make a living riding my bike, and it didn't happen for me. And I know Chris was a real high level road racer at one point, and I know Jesse with the street, like you moved to San Diego, think you're going to be pro BMX, and so it's like in a way we are, I mean, we're not pro athletes, but we figured out a way to do the thing that we love for a career. And so we are getting paid to ride our bikes in a sense, but just
Right.
not the
Yeah.
way that involves Red Bull and some of the other glorious moments you might have otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty great to be in this industry, no doubt.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, the equivalent to winning like Red Bull Rampage for us is changing someone's flat on a group ride, you know?
Yeah, step
So,
aside, please. I got this.
yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
got
I don't want to
yeah,
be here all day.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Just 1 minute, 1 minute. So, unless it's a gator skin, then it's like
Oh
not
yeah.
much. Yeah, yeah. Those don't
Yeah.
flap, but when they do, those things are tough to work on.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I
Yeah.
So,
ran into this guy on Mines Road, and he had just bought a full campy EPS Pinarello, and he had Schwalbe tubeless on NV on a set of NV wheels, and he was on the side of the road. He flattened it, and so I pull over like the expert. I'm gonna help this guy. I couldn't get the tire off. That tire was so tight. I thought I was gonna break something, And so, yeah, I wasn't able to help him out. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it
Later, you
doesn't.
should have bought a giant. See
Yeah.
ya.
I'm like, you should really look at a wheel system where the tire and yeah. But yeah,
It's
anyway.
tough though. Like as a retailer, it's like you want to be able to spend the time to go over that stuff with the consumer, like when they're
Yeah.
picking up, right? Like an ideal situation would be like, I'm going to spend an hour with you. We're going to go through everything. But
Yeah.
then it's like sometimes the margin in the bike, you're like, I just can't do it.
Yeah. And plus you got other stuff you got to do. It's
Right.
like there's just stuff flying at you. It's like being a rep.
Right.
Similar kind of thing. You have ideally you'd spend all this time in the retailer. But then you have all this other stuff you got to do. You got to do your training. You got to do your
Right.
emails. You got to do that and keep up with your corporate communications and whatnot. So, yeah, it's you got to juggle the time and try to I think you always did a good job at Eden balancing. I think as an outside rep, I'm sure Jesse, you run into clients of your accounts all the time, and I'd see Eden customers on a regular basis out there on the road, and everybody was always uh, had really good things to say. So, yeah, but yeah, I think there's part of that guilt that you have when you're just you got to just manage your time.
but
Right.
I also think,
Sense.
like in the time management aspect, that's why I feel like, um, it's gonna sound like I'm advertising, but I'm not. But like we're like
Here we
Lightspeed,
go.
you can create those generated, emails through Lightspeed. And
Hmm.
it's like there are ways to like categorize it and be like, hey, you bought XYZ bike, here's how to maintain the brakes, and like you can send those emails and invite them back. And I think that that's a part that we focus. We're not, when I say we, I'm not running a business, so this is all this is all hoopla. But
Yeah.
I do think it's one of those things where we should put it on ourselves to get that information out and follow up with the riders. And I think that it makes it so easy using a quality POS system, because now you can invite them back and capture that data and tell them to come back. And I know that you did this, Chris. Yeah, you didn't have the hour to spend with everybody because two or three people, it's busy, but you always had clinics. Like I always saw on social media,
Yeah.
you had clinics going on.
Yeah.
As much like to give you a hard time about it, but like I think when I met you in person, I came in, you guys were setting up for a clinic that night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was like you guys were like had like seats and stuff, or you just got done with the clinic. So I think like the shops that I'm seeing doing really, really well, even with the discounts and stuff, are the ones that are doing stuff in the community. And I think that
Yeah.
that's like the ones
Yeah.
that are building the trails, the ones that are constantly out there, doing clinics, bringing people into the store, doing shop rides,
Right.
and thinking about like how do we make it better for everybody. And those are the shops thriving. Like the ones that are having growth this year are the ones doing stuff. It's easy to be like, hey, we don't have any money, let's not do anything. But at the same time, there's a lot of free stuff you could do.
Right. But it's hard
So
sometimes with those because it's hard to quantify that ROI on that, because you don't see it immediately, but maybe like you guys are saying, it's a long-term effect, right? Months down the
mhm.
road, that the word of mouth has been passed down and positive
Well,
things have been said about you.
yeah, and I think
Mhm.
it's hard, like as a retailer, you get these situations where, like I experienced this firsthand where we were doing demos. Back in the day, we had the demo rig rolling, and we did a demo in Castro Valley, and then we do one in Danville for our dealer there. And they were like these guys that would go to these demos. I would just see them at all the demos. They would ride the bikes, and they would, we'd have these conversations, but they would be at both the demos. They'd be in Castro Valley and in Danville riding the bikes, and with the idea that we were gonna, hopefully seal the deal at some point and get him a bike. And then just randomly, I'm at a salad place. I'm getting like a lunch, and these two guys are in front of me, and they're like, "Hey, you're the giant guy." And then it was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, yeah, I remember you guys." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." And I go, "Oh man, did you ever get that TCX?" He's like, "Oh no, man, I bought a Canyon." I'm just like, what? And he goes, "Yeah, I know. I broke Dave's heart. Dave was the guy that owned the shop in Danville. He goes, "Yeah, I broke Dave's heart. But dude, the deal. I mean, I would, And then his buddy's like, "Yeah, I got a Canyon too." I'm just like,
Dude,
dude,
that
See,
always killed me. Killed
right?
me.
but hey, what if to pick on
Yeah,
Dave
yeah,
because I love Dave and he was a host of this, right?
yes,
No,
yes,
so he'll see this. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like, and that's I
Yeah.
think like when we would do demos at Bicycle Warehouse, like one of the things we come out there and we would literally capture the information. You send an email out, and it is funny like how much, like how many times do you see like even do a demo where you don't follow up with it, right? Even
right.
on our side, the distribution side, is like, did we follow up with the shop to make sure that there was no loose ends, that we followed through and that everyone left with a good experience. Because I do a lot of shop rides with, we have a demo driver, and it's like we take the employees out if they want to go out, and it's crazy how many times shops don't want to go out and ride bikes, and it's like what?
I
But
know, right?
but yeah, but like that, that's that follow up. I think that's a huge thing because those gentlemen on the Canyon, maybe a nice little email, stoking them out on the who knows, they could have had their mind set, right?
Dude, you're being
So
way
yeah,
too kind here.
hey,
Yeah,
I'm just
these guys go
hey,
on his group ride every Sunday.
you never know, man.
They were
Never
probably
that.
giving away free salads at the place you were eating at. That's why they were there. They wouldn't be
Yeah,
there otherwise.
Yeah, buy a
yeah.
Canyon, get a salad.
Hey, you never know.
No,
Like
but it,
we,
it is tough. And as a retailer, if something like that happens to you, and then it's like, oh, and I'm gonna do what, Saturday night? I got to stay and do this clothing, wine and cheese, for these people that are just gonna buy a
right.
can. You know what I mean? Like you get beat down. It's by the point I
Yeah.
was trying to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that's where you try to have as much fun as possible. I know Chris had good
Yeah,
beer at his.
yeah,
Hell
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like it's like
hell
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
so.
We had, yeah, brewed up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of like flat clinics and like that's. I think it's just so cool
Oh
because you're
yeah.
engaging new riders. Because I think like one of the things you know that's pretty cool is like we have a huge amount of people that race and race specialized products. Right, you go to the races, it's predominantly epics and a lot of tarmacs out there, and on group rides tarmacs and stuff. And it's like
All right.
I think that the coolest thing is when you engage like when I worked retail, my favorite thing to sell was matching Sedona DXs, a Thule T2,
Yeah.
a Toe
Oh
Peak
yeah.
rack, a Toe Peak bag, because you're getting those people into riding. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that that's like something that's just completely missed because at the end of the day, you sell that 10, $15,000 bike, and to a lot of people, they don't, like they know what they want, they buy it. The Canyon rider, knows what they want, they buy it. And I think that that's where there's so much opportunity in the entry level aspect that to
Yeah.
me those are the fun clinics. Like I don't enjoy doing tubeless clinics on high end bikes because it's like it's messy.
But I
Yeah.
think you're right. I mean, like I think there was a lot more satisfaction with customers like that Sedona DX. I mean, that's a common one, right?
Yep.
It's a couple, like to see their excitement with that package versus the guy who worked you over on a super discount for a bike and he's just out of there and he's not coming back. Those people are coming
Exactly.
back and their friends are going to come in, they're going to refer you. It's like that was
Yeah.
much better to see the stoke level from those
Yeah,
people.
get a whole family
Yeah.
going with a trailer, even,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
like with
And
a little burley out the back, and you could just see the excitement and what the possibilities of what they just bought and where they're going to go
Right.
and do with it. That's awesome.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah. I
I'd
think
seen so many people where there was parents and their kids, and then later their kids came in and bought bikes with their kids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah, it's what is it? I think there's like a book on it called like Raving Fans where you if you can get one person to recommend two people to your store, that's a raving fan. Like that was
Right.
kind of like when we worked at Bicycle Warehouse, that was a huge thing. You'd get like on Yelp reviews, get like a little $5 Starbucks gift card and stuff. And it's like I think that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is it's more fun. Like those dudes, like yeah, they bought canyons, whatever. Who cares? Yo, Mike, how you doing? You work at Giant, and then like
Yeah.
they already have a good impression of Giant with you, and it's like
Yeah.
they're gonna recommend a Giant to their friends that's maybe not be interested in buying a Canyon. They're coming to Chris for that Sedona DX,
Right.
fully loaded.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So I don't know.
we had an incident like that where I had a new rider and got my buddies who were old race buddies, and we like loaned the customer bike. We nurtured him on this 40-mile bike ride. A month later, he comes in with a Specialized from another store.
Smart man.
Hard,
Oh, Jesus.
but we'll leave that as it.
Yeah.
But later he came back and he was an advocate for the store. He would help out on, group rides and our women's events. He would help, all that stuff. So
That's
you
a
never know when he'll
complicated
come back.
relationship right
It
there.
is, it's a love hate.
Very
for sure.
complicated.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think we just take it too personal.
We do.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's the downside of us being so passionate, right? Like,
Yes.
I think I'm saying a lot of stuff like blanket statements for the industry, but like,
Yeah, you're the spokesperson for the bike industry.
yeah, I am.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We had Heather Mason on from the NBDA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
the
of the
president
actual
of the
spokespeople.
NBDA.
No, she's awesome. I love she does so much cool stuff. I always
she
jump on her little
does.
Zoom calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say something dumb, but surprise. But I think that we have such like there's like a huge like ego problem that we have, and it's like I have one. Like I get really upset. Like if I help someone, I go, I really, and they're like, yeah, I don't, and it's like when I worked retail, it's like I just worked with that person forever, sent the follow up email, recommended recommended a restaurant,
Yeah.
made a person, followed up a week later, and I was doing it by hand. Like I had a log, book, and I was just sending out emails constantly. But it was funny because most of the time when they wouldn't buy a bike, they'd always send someone in, and then you like look up their email or their name, and then it's like, oh, cool. And then I don't know. I think but it's so easy to remember the bad ones, right? Like think about all
Yeah.
your good Yelp reviews, Chris.
Right.
I,
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
bet you right now you could tell me word for word what one said that was bad. You couldn't tell me the good ones.
All right. No, for
It's like,
sure.
It's
Yeah.
like you remember the bad things, and I think that's
Oh yeah.
yeah. I know I've been like really, not to be lame, but I've been really focused on trying to be like very like I'm just lucky, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be flipping burgers my whole life. Like I was content with moving to Portland. My high school plan in life was move to Portland, live in the back of a car, and become a pro BMXer. So that was my life goal.
There you go.
Maybe work at a bike shop. Like that was me in high school, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's come full circle now.
Right.
Like you get to work for cool companies, get to meet cool people, get to do this fun podcast. Like that, it's 179 episodes too late. But I won't take it personally, Mike.
You're episode 182, Jesse. I hate to break it to you.
So,
Yeah.
but Dialed in Health should be before me. There's some good ones. Heather should be before me. I get it.
Yeah.
So no, but I don't know. I think that's like something that I've been like really working on. And I think that and like trying to just be more positive about those interactions because it's
Well, yeah,
at the
I
end of
think you hit on something I think is really important, and it's something that I saw in Chris when I first started as an outside rep. I was just slinging speed pay pedals and Trico saddles, and but Chris was working at a small shop that he later ended up owning, but the owner was pretty disconnected at the time, and it was a struggling shop, and I was there. I just happened to be there one day, and I don't. The way I remember it may not be exactly how it was, but I remember that you were saving this. This is back before POS systems. This is like Sutherland's bike tags, and you had finished a sale with somebody, and you wrote down. You said, "Hang on a minute." I was just standing there waiting, like a typical sales guy. I think it was just the two of us in the store, even after the person left. But you were making notes on the back of the Sutherland's tag about.
Right.
I think she was talking about her dog. And like he was just making notes on the back of that, and then you pull out this little file box and you put it in this file. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's just like, oh, well, we like to follow up and, we add like a little personal, so,
Yeah.
you know, so it's those little things, right? That it's like it's lost a lot of times at retail, and it's easy to, like I was saying, it's easy to get kicked in the nuts sometimes with the Canyon guy, right? But all those things really matter. And I think that, you look at Bicycle Warehouse, one of the most successful bicycle retailers, in the country. You look at Eden Bicycles, very successful bike shop in the Bay Area. It's those little extra things that you do, that is what really makes the difference between being successful or not. Even though,
Yeah.
like you say, you remember the L's. All the L's are right on the top of your head, but all the W's are just, they just keep stacking up day after
Hmm.
day, week after
Right.
week. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's something. That's why the MBDA is such a valuable asset to the independent bicycle retailers, because being on the front lines, you do deal with the negative stuff that you encounter that really weighs on you. But the MBDA does give you those tools to try to, and the encouragement. I think the mentorship and the encouragement is super important as a retailer, that you're not in this alone, and you got this organization behind you that's rooting for you and helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not
And
every
I
retailer does that, for
No, and I
sure.
think another thing that's, super important too is like from us is like on the distribution side, like, yeah, you have the notes, Chris, which is what I also did, but I'd put them in light speed because, I'm much younger than you, Chris.
He had a
But
fancy POS system.
yeah, we had
I
a
know,
POS.
right?
No
Yeah,
big deal. I could look
yeah,
up people by number. But
yeah.
then but I think like one thing to tap on that is like that's the cool thing about social media is like you're on Instagram, you see what people are doing. I think that that's huge to like there should be more of a relationship between the sales rep and the bike shop, not to the point where you're wasting time just hanging out by any means, but like, it's nice to know if someone's going through something, you could check in on them and just
Yeah,
really, and I think that is like the biggest separator is like so many people in any industry, right? They just look at it as like, okay, cool, I'm just going to load this person up with product. I don't care if it sells, but I'm going to get that big order. And I'm going to move on to the next big order. And then a year later, I'm going to come back for that big order. And then I'm going to move to the next. And I think that that's a big disservice that,
yeah.
it hurts the bike industry, right? Like, I think,
Right.
again, blanket statement again, because, what I know everything, obviously. But I
Spokesperson.
think,
Yeah,
but I think that's like one of the things that I see the most is like when I was a rep, you'd have the reps that would come in just for the big order and they never got the big order, right? The reps that would come in and care about you and check in on you and make sure that the shop's doing good and do a quick little 2-minute clinic. Those are the shops that we did the most business with. And it wasn't anything that I think that they knew they were doing. They were just, and I think that that's huge, right? And like always
yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
I mean,
think
again, I love going into shops and wasting time and BSing too. Like, but like, I do that a lot, but try to, you know, go over some cool
I
stuff.
think as a sales guy, getting somebody's cell number, right? Getting their social media and getting their like Strava, those three connection points with employees. I think those are really critical connection points. And you can kind of keep track with each other, so you don't have to spend as much time with the little BSing necessarily. But you can chime in on their Strava, or chime in on their Instagram post or whatever, or you text them like, "Hey, I saw this. I thought of you." Just something quick. I think those three elements I think are super important, and then that way you can kind of stay on task when you go into the shops. Um, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is on the companies too to provide the tasks, right? So like during COVID, it was just very much an acquisition game. It was just like, what can you get me? There wasn't really like a lot of dealer education. There wasn't programs. Everything was just, it was just about what can I get right now. And so post COVID, the companies have been a little slow. I feel like a little bit slow to react to the marketplace, and really drive business with initiatives and programs. Of course, I'm in a very I'm obviously work for one company, but also though I'm in the loop with what Trek is doing and what Specialized is doing by default. And yeah, it just seems like the industry as a whole needs to get back to, full throttle product development, full throttle sales programs, and
But
and
like to Jesse's point, of course, I was never overloaded by Giant, but I've been into other retailers.
oh, look out.
I've been into other retailers where you might see a proprietary product, and then you see the last year's one, and unfortunately, the retailer put the new one in front of it. But it's like you've got so much of that old product still. It's like, how did that happen? It's like,
Yeah.
Did the rep not notice that, or did the retailer just order it because he thought he needed it and didn't know what his inventory was?
Yeah.
It's just that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that like I call it like a honey hole. It's like you just get you get the honey till it's gone, and you leave. Like I just it drives me pretty insane when I see that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've been going into I've covered I probably covered 400 different accounts in the US, and I'm going a lot of them on Google their shop, and then just click on photos and virtual walk around. I do that. I've done that to pretty much every shop that I covered when I was an inside rep. And I was like, "Hey, Mike, send me a photo of inside the store if like they didn't have photos." So,
Yep.
and then the fun thing is just getting different eyes on it too, because then I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, they're not selling. They might need this light if they have the and then it's like a little bit more fun. And I don't know where I was going with that. I got distracted.
Jesse had a fun. We had a fun time at Sea Otter one year, and we had this guy, this notorious character, at a shop, and Jesse Jesse dubbed this term for this guy, and Jesse used it to the guy. It was hating ass Todd.
Yeah.
And it was so perfect. The name was so perfect because Todd was like the glass half empty. Anything that Giant would develop, Todd just had like, yeah, but and
anything anyone would develop.
Anyone really, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
Todd was awesome.
Todd.
Todd was awesome. Yeah,
it was a perfect name. But the fact, I just thought that Jesse, I thought he just used that term with me. And then we're at Sea Otter, and Todd comes walking up. He says, "Oh, hey, Des, Todd, what's up?" I was just like,
Hey,
and the guy laughed and everything. I mean, it was like you could have fun with people like that.
Well, he would always call me 3 minutes after we were off the clock.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, "What are you calling to hate about today, Todd? What are you calling to hate about?"
Oh snap!
Todd was awesome. He was in your.
He's awesome.
He's from your local town, right? Liverpool. No, where do you live?
Livermore. Livermore. Yeah. No, he's working at RNA Cycles now in Walnut Creek. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, no, Todd, it's funny because, hating ass Todd sounds like a derogatory term, but we love that guy,
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was more about his personality than who he was as a person. He's just like, just always had this weird bent on some silly thing and he'd get hung up on and complain about it. And we would just all laugh about it, and he would laugh too. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's terrible.
That was pretty hilarious though at Sea Otter because I couldn't believe when Todd walked up and then Jesse called. I was just like, I had no idea you just said that to him. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think I don't know. I think I do stuff. I'm not trying to talk about myself, but I do stuff on purpose. There's a reason why I do it.
Yeah.
But I do think that I'm a big fan of like relationship building. Like you're gonna get like an authenticity from me. Like it's like I'm the same on the phone and this like it's not, you're not going to see like corporate me. Like I'll be more professional, but like it's always going to be in the like let's have fun together, because it just doesn't work. I've tried to be serious. Again, the management thing, when I was working with Debbie, she was like, "Hey, just be yourself, like make jokes, it's fine, don't distract everybody, but it's fine to have fun." And I think Dan Mann talks about it in gear training. There are people that can say whatever they want. There's like the best example of that work in retail was, and it was probably the funniest thing ever. You had a really serious team leader, who we loved, but he was so serious. And we had this gentleman named David Cook, a legend in San Diego. If you're from San Diego, you probably know David. And a guy asked for a discount on a CCX01 Santa Cruz with Envy, and it was like a special order. And he laughed in the dude's face, and he's like, "Ha! We don't put discount on, or they don't put a discount on Louis Vuitton." Ha! And laughed at him. And like when he asked for a discount, and like the guy was like, "I guess they don't," and bought it. And it was like, and laughed, and like thought it
Oh,
was right. And it
Yeah.
was like, and I think that that's something that like it's all personalities, right? Because like you can, don't like you have to like read the room. It's not. It wasn't like I just went up to Todd and called him hating ass Todd.
Yeah,
Like it was like
right.
it was like it was set up for months. And then I
Yeah.
said it to him in person, and then like I
Yeah.
planned on saying it to him because he said he was going to stop by. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get him good. I'm going to get him good."
uh,
So like caught him off
And
guard. But yeah,
everyone did laugh. I mean, he was with a group of like maybe three or four, and I think they were high-fiving each other. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It was just
it was
like
like
it was pretty great. Yeah.
someone finally said it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like
But
it's kind
but
of
it
like when
gets
I was
back to
calling you.
that having fun, you know.
Yep.
That's the whole nature of the business, and you
Totally.
know, it's on all of us. You know, you can get beat down and like we were talking about, but man, at the end of the day, we sell bikes. Let's make it fun. You know,
Yeah.
that's what drew us to the industry in the first
Right.
place was,
Yeah.
having fun with bikes. So
Yeah, I used to call you Chris and tell you that I was sending out free stuff to people except for you because Mike didn't want. Like it was always like I was like, hey, I just sent shoes to
yeah,
Danville.
yeah,
I
yeah,
sent shoes to Dave, and then Chris is like, I don't
yeah,
get any love.
yeah.
I don't
And
need
You,
free stuff. Mike's just
yeah,
out riding his bike. Where's he
well,
at?
yeah,
Chris is on the naughty list.
yeah,
I know.
Mount Diablo.
I
Uh-huh.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then it was
classic.
like, oh, hey, we brought Specialized in, Mike.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah,
Congratulations, Chris, by the
yeah.
way.
It's all my fault. Oh
Oh,
No, yeah,
man.
shit.
but yeah, I don't know. I think most people on the, like the distribution side, like what I do and what you do, Mike, is like we all started in bike shops, and I think that that's a huge like misconception is like they're trying to take bike shop. It's like, dude, we love bike shops. I don't know. I'm like nothing better than when I go into a bike shop as long as they have hot water and they have music playing. Like those are my two pet peeves. They were open in the '90s if there's no hot water in the bathroom. Like,
Oh,
turn,
dude.
you know,
Yeah, the
but
bike
Yeah.
shop I grew up in, no hot water.
Right.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
water was ice cold. But no, I think I like my favorite thing is I'll just make a day to go prospect and just drive to like areas where there's no bike shops that we are in and just go into every single one and
Yeah.
whether they just work on beach cruisers or they're doing like high end really niche recumbent trikes. Like I have shops like that out here, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
what do you got? Everyone, and at the end of the day, everyone enjoys what for the most part riding what they're doing, and it's just so funny that we all like draw a line in the sand and act like we're it's like football teams, right? We're all just hating on each other. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I think
it's never on the individuals though, It's like the
yeah,
people in the industry, we're all brothers and sisters in
yeah,
some way, So,
exactly,
yeah, you can connect with just about anybody in the bike business,
yeah,
no matter
yeah.
what. Yeah.
Do you still go to bike shops, Chris? You just pop into bike shops?
Yeah, totally. I still love going into bike shops, and it's hard not to when you go into just not like, oh, I gotta fix this display. It looks
Yeah,
horrible.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
Let
like,
me help you with this pile in the corner here. What's
I
happening?
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
Where are your
Yeah.
hangers at?
right. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Listen, Jesse, unfortunately I got to run right at 9 today. I gotta bounce, but
perfect.
yeah, it was long overdue getting you on here, but glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah.
I was trying to be respectful. I know that, you're starting a new position, you moved to a new state.
Yeah,
There's a lot of new going on with you. So yeah, I thought I'd give you
no,
a little time to
no, for
settle
sure.
in. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I thought maybe you might come back to Giant.
backpedaling.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
we'd have that podcast, but
I,
no,
I
no,
think
no.
I think that bridge is burnt. But
Well, listen,
yeah,
man, I mean, there's no doubt you're going to be successful no matter what you
Yeah.
do. You made a big impact in the short time that we worked together, and yeah, you really bring something special to the table. So it's
well, yeah,
been,
it's super fun. Thanks for inviting me. I didn't actually think that, you know, you know, you are doing some pretty cool stuff on here. You're getting good guests and stuff. So I'm just being a smart aleck when I said that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
because I
on
think
brand. It's
yeah,
on
yeah,
brand. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like right when you started, it's like I'll come on and run my mouth and get
Yeah.
it canceled real quick.
Yeah. Well, this has been the
So
funnest episode for me. This has been great,
Yeah.
man.
cool.
I've been laughing a lot, and it's been good to kind of catch up with you again, Jesse.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
hopefully you learn nothing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, do you want to give out any like your social media stuff or
yeah, I
yeah.
guess if you want, you can follow me on Instagram, say something, SaySumtin. If you listen to this and you work in a bike shop, I actually do a sales process that's kind of similar to gear that I clinic on here in North Florida, but I could do
Nice.
something on Zoom virtually. So if anyone wants to, it's called Swipe, and I do a pretty
Cool.
fun little course. So just to kind of set a base, and if you want something more, you should probably go to Dan Man, but just to kind of get people wrapped around what a sales process is and what they're doing. So
Hey, why don't you share
um,
that next time you have one of those happening? Let us know. I'd like to pop in on that. Check it out.
Yeah.
yeah, for
Totally.
Yeah,
sure.
that'd
I'll
be
invite
great.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, see ya.
Awesome.
Be
All
safe.
right. Thanks,
Hey,
man.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks.